transcendentalist stands always above the ritualistic principles of scriptures.
Prayatnadatyamanastu yogi samshuddhi kilbishaha aneka janma samsiddhaha tado yati param gatim.
And when the yogi engages himself with sincere endeavor in making further progress, being washed of all contamination, then ultimately achieving perfection after many, many births of practice, he attains the supreme goal.
Tapasvabhyo diko yogi gnanibhyopi matodikaha karmebhyascha diko yogi tasmad yogi bhavarjuna.
The yogi is greater than ecstatic, greater than empirist, and greater than fruitive worker. Therefore, O Arjuna, in all circumstances, be a yogi.
Yoginam api sarvesham madgatenantaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo mataha.
And of all yogis, the one with greatest faith, who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental, loving service to me, he is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion.
Om Tassatiti Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Atma Sanyama Yogo Nama Sashtodhyayaha.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kusmalata Mataji. Thank you so much, Mandula Mataji. It was
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Mataji, can I share the kirtan?
No, I think it's time. I will start the class now at 7, and this chapter is slightly a little long one, you know.
Okay, Mataji.
Okay, thanks a ton, Sonal Mataji. You're doing a great job. Thank you so much. Okay, just get to the.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Babani Shankarji. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjala Shalakaya Chakshurum Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantika Vande Aham Shri Guruhu Shri Yuta Pada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagara Jatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadavaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dheena Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. I will jump into the chapter. Can you see my slide?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, super. Thank you so much. So today's chapter is chapter 7. It's called the Dhyana Yoga. Remember, I told you today the Lord is also going to talk about the meditative process in bhakti. He has talked about the knowledge of the philosophy of life, that we being the soul and not the body. And he also talked a lot about karma and how we need to really stay steadfast in our duties. And then he also talked about jnana, he talked about karma, and all along he has been talking about, bhakti in everything, whether it's jnana or karma. He's spoken about bhakti being really, really something that should be the center point or pivot of whatever form of yoga we adapt or we kind of, take upon ourselves. And now he's going to give us the details about dhyana yoga. He does not want to leave any corners untouched, because that's what a true student seeks for, and that's what a true teacher also delivers to a student who constantly and submissively surrenders to seeking more knowledge. So this chapter is Dhyana Yoga, or the meditative process to associate with the God conscious. And let's see what Dhyana Yoga is all about, and then let's decide for ourselves, which path is something that for people like us in Kali Yuga would be most conducive. So the overview of this chapter, it has 5 sections. The first section is what is Ashtanga Yoga? He's going to describe Ashtanga Yoga. And in the second one, he's also going to talk about the different stages of the Ashtanga Yoga. And then he's going to touch upon the mind control one more time. Because mind is absolutely the gate that opens up to a lot of things, either to material desires or towards God consciousness. And then Arjuna also asks a question about what would happen to somebody who is practicing bhakti or who's practicing one of these yogas, but then falls in the sense, strays away. There's a derailment that happens. There's a kind of a speed breaker that occurs to somebody. What happens to such people when we fall away from our path of devotion? Then the Lord also then finally, he kind of completely, exalts the yogi, the true yogi, the yogi who's completely, detached from all kinds of material gratifications. Okay. So according to you, what is yoga? Apart from the meaning of yoga, which which is association with the Supreme, that is yoga. Anything which you do is to kind of associate yourself with that Supreme Consciousness who is present everywhere and who's also present in each of us, each of the living entities. So now we are going to talk about the yoga, the common terminology of yoga that is used, the common parlance of yoga. What is yoga according to you? Hare Krishna. We are a small group today, so I think it will be nice if all of you can participate. So what do you mean by yoga? What is the meaning of yoga?
It's a kind of meditational practice of controlling breath and emotions.
Oh, okay. Very good. That's nice. Anyone else?
What is the connection, Mataji?
God.
Okay, it's a connection with God. What else? What is the thing? We see a lot of yoga institutes. What do these yoga institutes do? We also have a yoga day. Is that a definition of your yoga, or you have a different definition of yoga?
Different, Mataji.
Okay, very good. You all are really elevated. I think I'm really blessed, and it's great. So this is typically all kinds of body postures are postured as yoga. That's what people think is yoga. Body asanas. Okay. So all kinds of asanas you find, these are kind of people, sadhu babas you find, in distant lands, and, maybe if you go up north or towards this Gaya, Bodh Gaya and Prayag and, those kind of places, you'll find a lot, or even closer to the Himalayas. Okay. So these are the various kinds of people. Hare Krishna, Kusumlata Mataji, please go on mute. Kusumlata Mataji, can you go on mute? Yeah, thank you, Mataji. So this is what people think is yoga, right? And there are a lot of spectators, that collect, to watch these kind of yoga postures that are there. It's good, they can make money, but then this is really not yoga. There's another kind of yoga. These are simple asanas, not even yoga. These are asanas. Asanas are often, and this is something I believe, abroad they call this a beer yoga. They're drinking beer and, doing all kinds of exercises, and they call it beer yoga. It's a mockery of, of the true meaning of what yoga is in our rich scriptures. And this is called goat yoga. They have goats and sheep, climb on any kind of living animal, on their body parts and all this stuff, and they call it, and balancing it is something like a yoga. Wonder why they put so much of pain on those poor animals. And then this is office yoga. This exercise. Don't call it yoga. You just say it is a good thing to kind of, loosen yourselves up, or, kind of, flexing yourselves. But this is not really yoga. This is just asanas. And then there are all other kinds of yogas as well. This is what, our Prabhuji actually collected all these for us, and he was explaining this to us when we were in his classes. So that's how we have these as a presentation material. So there's chair yoga, there's pregnancy yoga, but these are all exercises. Yeah, you need to have these exercises. You need to do these exercises to keep your body parts and your muscle and your bones, well in order. But assigning the name of yoga is actually a mockery on the true meaning of the yoga. There are various types of yoga, and all these books have great, sales. So they're making money. Good for them. So now the Bhagavan opens the chapter by saying, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Anashritah karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir na chakriyaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who's unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic. Not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. And time and again, he's stressing on the importance of work, and also doing work in such a way so that you are not puffing up your ego, or you're not fattening up that ego of yours. The ego comes to play only when we have that sense of I. When that I in you is completely removed, the ego part goes away, then you're just doing the work, having Krishna at the center. The moment you put the Supreme Personality at the center of all your activities, which again are of the prescribed, in the prescribed format of the duties for the respective function that you're doing, then I think you become egoless, and you're in a state of bliss. You're in a state of happiness. Now, in 6.5, he says, Uddharet atmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaiva hi atmano bandhur atmaiva ripuratmanah. So you have to elevate yourself. You need to ensure that your mind is looking for the higher taste and not degrading or delegating to the lower senses or the lower urges of the senses. So one should always look for upgradation, not for degradation. Just as we constantly look to upgrade, all our, all the systems we have at home, any kind of gadgets we use, we only look for upgrade. We don't look for go and buy something which is of a lower, of lower capacity or lower version. So similarly in life too, we need to seek that higher taste and not kind of go away with the senses that are constantly sway the mind away. Okay, so he says the mind is a friend of the conditioned soul. So the mind is actually your friend. You need to make sure how are you going to use the best capabilities of the mind and not make the mind your enemy. So the mind can become your friend, and it can also be your enemy. Would you know when the mind is your friend and when the mind would be your enemy? Hare Krishna. Can anyone explain why in this verse the Lord is underlying the importance of the mind and is calling the mind both a friend and an enemy? Would any of you know when your mind would be an enemy and when your mind can be your friend?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
As per my knowledge, mind can be an enemy when the mind is controlling us. Like if you are doing gratification, mind can be a friend when we are controlling our senses.
Very nice. Very good. Excellent. Babani ji, you're impressing me. Very good. Very good. Bandhur atmat manasas tasya enat mai vatmana jitah anat manastus shatrutve vartetat maiva shatruvat. So for him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. So if you have to conquer, if you are in control of the mind is your friend, just like Prabhuji just said. But for one who has failed to do so, where you allow the mind to control you, the mind becomes your enemy. It is just like, I think Prabhupada gives the example of a doctor. The doctor who uses, he has the surgical equipments. He has a surgical blade. When he uses the surgical blade for when he uses it for doing a surgery to save a life, then it is using the mind and all its sense organs for a good cause. Okay, but at the same time, if the blade is used to take away somebody's life, then the mind is obviously not in control, right? Okay, so here he says, for one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached. Because once the mind is in control, your soul is absolutely, without any contamination. And therefore, you are as nirguna as the super soul. The super soul is nirguna. It is only we who are completely, always, seeking all kind of gratifications, and we get carried away by the various kind of gunas that are there in the Prakriti. We move away, or we kind of wean away from the areas of goodness, and we allow ourselves to be controlled by passion and by ignorance, right? To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. Shitokshana shuka dukkeshu tata mana pa manayaho. See how many times he's talking about this distress and pain and happiness all being part and parcel of it. It's like a seesaw. Life is a seesaw. One day it will be up, one day it will be low. But however, we need to keep our balance in place, check in place, so that we don't allow the seesaw to kind of control us. See how many times all these things keep coming. So I think with so much being said, I think we have a lot to kind of really contemplate and meditate upon. 6.10, he says, Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi stitah ekaki yata chittatma nirashir aparigraha. A transcendentalist should always engage his body, mind and self in relationship to the Supreme, because that, once you have the jnana and once you keep contemplating and meditating, it will help you to do that. He should live alone in a secluded place and should carefully, he's talking about whom? Here from 6.10 onwards, he's going to talk about one who wants to get to the meditative process of bhakti. But however, the first line, Yogi Unjita Satata, that is applicable to all of us. All of us should engage our body and mind in such a way that we should know that there is constantly somebody who is a friend and who's residing in us and is seeking our attention to kind of come back to him, right? However, for someone who wants to really go the meditative or the dhyana yoga way, he says, for them, they should live alone in a secluded place and should carefully control his mind. Because when you're in a secluded place, the mind can go, haywire. When we are, because we are social animals, we like to be constantly engaged in activities. So it's very important for us to not completely restrain and just go away from the things that keeps our mind and our body parts engaged. So they always say, don't restrain but replace. What does replace mean? Replace with such activities so that whatever you're trying to restrain doesn't attract you. For instance, if you have extra time, instead of browsing the net for various things, you might as well use, if it's really truly an extra time that you have, use it to kind of enhance your abilities in terms of learning some new art, fine arts, or a new hobby or something like that. Because these then can be used in devotional service. These then can be used to further or curb those urges which otherwise are going to occupy a substantial part of your mind and your body. Okay, so therefore, here he is talking about the process of meditation. So for a person who wants to get into the dhyana yoga, he should live alone in a secluded place, should always control his mind. He should be free from desires and feeling of possessiveness. Okay, so therefore, what do you think is Ashtanga yoga? So the dhyana yoga, we are going to talk about Ashtanga yoga and the Patanjali yoga, because that's what is there in our scriptures. Patanjali yoga is the Ashtanga yoga. So what is Ashtanga yoga? What is Ashtanga yoga? Anybody? Do you know what Ashtanga yoga is? Okay, so the Ashtanga yoga, Ashtanga yoga, 8-limbed connection. And it has 8 steps. What are the stages? Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, and then finally union and integration with the Lord happens. What is Yama? External form of cleanliness. Then Niyamas, internal discipline. Internal, what kind of things you eat. What kind of thoughts do you harbor? That is internal discipline. Asana is the postures that we saw in the beginning of this presentation. All kinds of, asanas and exercises to keep yourself body fit and stuff like that. And then pranayama is breath control. The breath control is what helps them to stay fit and also keep all the organs in place, because they're going to really, stay far away place, and therefore they're, illness, and to keep themselves fit from illness and any kind of diseases. So they have to keep their body fit. Then pratyahara. Pratyahara is the next step, where you withdraw all your senses, and you're not getting yourself distracted. That is, and once you do that, it helps you to kind of, concentrate. Concentration is the key to the meditative process. And once you are able to concentrate, you get into the higher realm of true meditation, where you're completely involved and absorbed in that oneness with the, in your thoughts with the Supreme. And once you're able to get mastery over that, it leads to union or integration with the Supreme Lord. Now, this is not something that is really possible for people like us in Kali Yuga, as it is. Our lifespans are short. And then we lived in a concrete jungle. The kind of, the greenery and the real nature that once existed does not exist anymore. So this is what true Ashtanga Yoga is. Whereas today, when you see those big boards, they're making, as I said, it's just bringing disrepute to the knowledge that our ancestors have given us. So the true Ashtanga Yoga has these 8 steps. So next time when you see the Ashtanga Yoga or people claiming to be specialists in Patanjali Yoga, ask them what they understand of Patanjali Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga. It's very well described in chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita. Give them a copy of the Bhagavad Gita and ask them to recommend them to read chapter 6, and also recommend them to, kind of understand Bhagavad Gita in full, so that they do not fool people. So what is the difference between yoga and bhoga? Hare Krishna. What's the difference between yoga and bhoga? What is yoga? What is bhoga?
Yoga requires surrendering, Mataji.
Very good. Yes.
And bhoga is you are actually engaging in all the material desires and enjoyments.
Right. Very good. Very good. Excellent. Oh my God. You all are all extraordinary people. So now, can somebody read this? We'll just read this, because this is all about the stages of the yoga, of what Dhyana Yoga is. Can someone read this?
Can I read, Mataji?
Yeah.
Yama 6.10. He should live alone in a secluded place and should always carefully control his mind.
Very good.
Niyama 6.17. Temperate in his habits of eating, sleeping, working, and recreation.
Very good.
Asana 6.11 to 6.14. Lay kusha grass on the ground and then cover it with a deer skin. The seat should neither be too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. One should hold one's body, neck, and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me. Hare Krishna. Pranayama 5.29. Practice stopping the movement of the outgoing breath into the incoming and incoming breath into the outgoing, and thus at last remain in trance.
Thank you, Mataji. So this is what it is. So Yama is, living in a control, in a secluded place. Niyama is being temperate in all kinds of habits. Then asana is not generally like we just put a yoga mat and we start doing asana. So it was a revelation to me when I read this chapter 6 3 years ago. And each time I read it, I really, it kind of, I get goosebumps. So he said there's a special kind of grass that they're supposed to sit on, and the asana has to be at a certain height. And then they sit on a deer skin. Now, don't think they go and kill a deer and then tear open the skin and then use that. No, there are dead animals that will be available in the, that will be there in the. These are brahmanas. These are really people who are. When I say brahmana, these are elevated souls. Who would not go hunting and killing and all that, right? So they would, when any dead animals are there, so the skin is used for as the asana. And then pranayama. Look at the thing of pranayama. It seems today, in fact, when I was attending one class, the Prabhuji was saying this process was basically to, for example, they inhale, and then the inhalation is called a name. I forget the name. They inhale, and they hold the breath, and then after some time they exhale. Now, I believe see, all of us have limited number of breaths. For example, I might have, say, 100 lakh of breaths. Which kind of gives me my life on earth. So what these people actually do, it seems, they use they kind of they know that number of breaths is limited or finite, is finite. So therefore they use less number of breaths so that they can elongate their life. So that was a principle that these people believed, and they lived upon it, and it's possible, is what I was told in the class today. So that is the pranayama, not like the Kapalbhati and all we do. Oh my God, that. And if in fact any of you is doing it, I'm not going to say yes or no to it, but be careful when you're practicing such things, because I've heard many people complaining of, the spinal cord problems. So just doing it recklessly because it's nice to see somebody else doing it and be trying it. Just use your judgment in kind of practicing such very rigorous form of the yoga that is being shown on TVs, and that is being publicized and being promoted and practiced all over. Use simple ones. Keep your body fit for that extent. Call it a say you use the yoga for the exercise purpose, but it's not the real yoga as in yoga that is there in our scriptures. Now, can someone else, one more person, please volunteer to read this? Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Volunteer, please. Nobody wants to read today. What happened? Should I call out somebody? Who wants to read? There is a lot of people. Basudev, Babani, Shankarji, Gajendra Kumar, Sonal. One of you can read, no?
I can, Mataji.
Okay, come. Read. Thank you. 1 second. 1 second. Let me just get back to the normal screen. Yeah.
Pratyahara 6.15, cessation of material existence. Dharana 6.18, disciplines his mental activities and becomes situated in transcendence, devoid of all material desires. He is said to have attained yoga.
Yeah.
Dhyana 6.19, as a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist, whose mind is controlled, remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendent self. Samadhi 6.20 to 6.23, one is never shaken even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact.
Very good. Thank you so much. So in this, the important thing I want you all to notice is on dhyana. As a lamp in a windless place. Is it possible to have any place which is windless? We are living on the planet Earth, and we need air to breathe, and there has to be air. So is there a possibility for a windless place? No, we'll die. We need oxygen, right? So therefore it is so hard. That's what it shows. It is so hard. It's not an easy process to keep the mind in control. The mind has to be in control, kept in control, just as a lamp in the windless place. That's what it means. It's just a kind of giving us an example. Okay. So now, So does anybody want to give this yoga system a try? I said no. Anybody else? Any of you want to give this a try?
No, Mataji.
But I
No,
remember
Mataji.
in my last class, one young girl wanted to give it a try. She said, why not? I want to give it a try. I said, of course, and let me know after some time. I told her. So I'm sure, I hope she gets back to us. So, okay. So now Arjuna says, after hearing this, he says, Chanchalam hi manaha Krishna pramati balavadridam tashyaham nigraham manye vayoriva suduksharam. What does it mean? He says, the mind is so restless, hey Krishna, it's so obstinate, it's so strong. How should one subdue it? I think it is more difficult to control the mind than controlling the wind. Today we control the wind and we use wind for a lot of energies that we get out of wind. But he's so tried. And if somebody like Arjuna, who's such a, who's gone through, who's done a lot of siddhis and, who's attained a lot of yuktis, if he had to think that way, imagine who are we? We are not as strong and as powerful and as, with that kind of determination only, you see Arjuna completely, he's completely slackened in that moment when he had to, really get on to fight. So who are we? That's what Prabhupada said. We are all normal mortal souls. If Arjuna felt like this, what are we? So the Blessed Lord says, oh, mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind. But it is possible by constant practice and by detachment. He is not discouraging. He said, no, if you want to, definitely by practice and, ensure that you are completely detached, you will be able to do it. Because we saw that, 8 steps that was there. If you're able to follow the 8 steps, see, he's a true teacher. He doesn't discourage. At least I am being a little discouraging in my tone. But Lord didn't say that. If somebody wants to do it, please go ahead and do it. It's fine. But he's cautioning. It's possible by constant practice and by detachment. And now in 6.36 he says, for one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is different. He's also giving you a caveat. He's very sweetly he's putting it. He's saying, but however, if the mind is not kept in control, it's going to be a little tough. He's just kind of warning, a slight warning. And he says, but he whose mind is controlled and who strives it by the right means is assured of success. That is my opinion. He's only giving an opinion. He's not just forcing his thought on anybody. He's just saying, for one who has complete thorough control on the mind, this yoga practice is very good and I don't think it is difficult. But for one who it's not, it's definitely something that they need to think about. So is the mind a friend? Yes, the mind is definitely a friend. For one who has conquered the mind is the best of friend. But however, one who fails to control the mind will be the greatest of enemies. It will be like a ghost, all constantly following you wherever we go. So what is the destination of someone who fails in the process of this process? Suppose somebody wants to take up this process of, the dhyana yoga. What happens to him if he fails? Because someday, suppose, he realizes that he's not able to keep that control and he wants to get back to the normal space of life. Then what happens? The Lord says, after many, many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into the family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy. And he continues, he says, he takes his birth in a family of transcendent who are surely great in wisdom. Verily, such a birth is rare in this world. So what he's saying is, well, if after practicing it and somewhere, there is a little bit of a gap, nothing is lost, because whatever you do, you get the benefit for that. So whatever good punya we kind of, make for ourselves, this benefit you will definitely reap. So some people, because of, you saw the example of Neraga and, I think we saw the example of Neraga. He had an option to kind of go to the higher planets and then come back to fulfill that prayaschitta. So like that, they'll go to the higher planets and they'll have to come back and, rin ko chukana hai. They have to kind of completely, fulfill that particular mistake that happened, and they have to kind of, do an atonement of that. And for other people, it may so happen that they may get good births where they'll be able to follow the process of bhakti, or they will get on, they will be able to easily, step on to the path of devotion. Probably most of us have done some good punya. That's why we are even, at least spending time to read these scriptures and discussing these concepts, So I'm sure we have all done something good in our previous life, and hopefully we should continue doing what we should do in this life as well, so that we are constantly seeking to improve ourselves. So the Bhagavad Gita, if you really look at it, only tells you how to kind of constantly seek improvement. From wherever you are, get to becoming better, and get to being the best. So there's nothing like there's the right time or a wrong time. You decide the time, and then, you kind of keep continuing. And if at all at some point in time there is a gap, there's nothing that stops you from going back and picking it up again. Okay. So Bhagavad Gita only talks about being the best and striving for the best. So who is the greatest yogi? You have to be a Jivana Mukta, like what Narada was. So now, in this chapter, what we see is every yoga, whether it's Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, or the Ashtanga Yoga, the focus of a Karma Yogi or a Jnana Yogi or an Ashtanga Yogi is Bhakti. So any path you choose, any step you choose, leads to Bhakti. Okay. So in 4.6.47, he says, Yoginam api sarvesha mat gatena antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yoma same yuktatamo matah. Of all the yogis who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in the yoga and is the highest of all. Please remember, our faith is about loving God, not fearing God. Okay. So the Lord again and again talks about the love that we need to develop for devotion, the love that we need to be developed for the God consciousness who's within us and who's everywhere. So such a person who's able to do that is a true yogi. Okay. So yoga, therefore, yoga means whether you follow Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, or Ashtanga Yoga, remember, it's a spiritual practice, and it only will come only through constant attempt of being at it. If you're not constantly on that, how does it happen for normal souls like us? I always tell people in my class that every day at the end of the day, spend 5 minutes, because life is about yourself, right? Life is about what is it that you are doing to yourself, and how is it by doing things to yourself you are engaging with every other soul on this planet, right? So if that is the whole thing, then why should you not take up 5 to 10 minutes every day and do a self-inquiry? How was my day? How did I react? What was my reaction like? Is there anything that I can do to improve? Was there something that I should not have done, but I did it? And therefore, what should I kind of be aware of so that I don't repeat it? So that kind of a contemplation, please understand, beauty, when I say beauty of thought, is within you. Nobody else can give us that. We have to develop that thought. We need to kind of, the goodness comes inside out. So we have to make attempt at looking at the inner core of us. When I say inner core, the inner self, the inner, once you kind of, are completely, within you. When I say within you, the soul is seated within the 9 gates of this body. So you have to ensure that the soul is kept completely as pure as it is originally is. So the way you need to do it is by constant inquiry, contemplation. You have to do that self-inquiry is the best teacher. There's no other best teacher other than self-inquiry, because each of us know who we are. Each of us know the things we are doing, whether it's right or wrong. Ask even a thief or a robber. He will definitely know, he knows what he is doing is wrong. Even someone who's addicted to some of the most dirtiest of vices or the most horrible vices in this world knows what he is doing or what she is doing. So it's not that self-awareness is not there. Self-awareness of who we are, each one of us know. So when that is the case, we must make that attempt to see how can we therefore seek that improvement within ourselves. And wherever you think you need help and support, go to the right people and take support from them. Don't get drawn to the wrong channels and, get yourself cheated, but go to the right channels, and that will definitely help you to give you that right level of enlightenment. Okay. So now there are different types of yoga practices that have been prescribed in our scriptures. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, in the Satya Yuga, it was all meditation on Lord Vishnu. Look at their body types. They were like that. And as I said, they used to live for tens and thousands of years. In Treta Yuga, it was performing expensive sacrifices, because it was all about, by then, small kingdoms and all had come about, and there were kings and there was praja and stuff like that. So they had to kind of get people together and do a lot of sacrifices and do a lot of dan, punya, charity and stuff like that. The Dwapara Yuga, it was elaborate temple worship, because that was the time, when administration had taken over, and people congregated together and discussed issues of society and discussed matters that would kind of help them to advance in civilization and stuff like that. But in Kali Yuga, chanting the holy name of the Lord is the best yajna or the best sacrifice that we can do and help ourselves. This was propagated by none other than Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna. So now we have options. Either we can take the lift and reach our marga, or go step by step, taking the staircase. So the option is us. God is kind of, giving us, laying out all the various options. It's up to us to choose whether we want to take the elevator or we want to take the stairs. Ashtanga Yoga is like walking up the stairs one by one. Unless you are able to kind of, establish or gain some kind of a confidence in one level, you can't progress. It's step by step. It goes one at a time. But when you are a karma yogi, do your duties, do all your prescribed duties, have Krishna at the center of everything. When Krishna is all that you have, all the time in your thoughts, when you're doing anything and everything, and when you're completely, not completely, when you are well within all the kind of, your bodily urges. It's not that God is saying, don't get married, don't do this. Of course, go do great job, become a CEO, become a great leader, become a politician, do whatever you want, travel the world, have children. Okay. But everything needs to be in a temperate way, in a balanced way, not excess of something leads to indulgence. There should be no indulgence in anything. But in whatever you do, keep Krishna at the center. You will automatically be balanced. You will automatically be temperate. That's how the monks have become who they are and what they are. They're able to sustain themselves. Okay. So what is a mantra? Anybody knows the meaning of mantra?
Man means mind, Mataji, and Trayate means...
Okay, very good. Yeah, something that delivers the mind, right?
Yeah.
So mantra keeps away. See, why do we say the mantra? Because the moment you're getting drawn to something that is unwanted, the moment you start saying the mantra, you will definitely find the power of the mantra pulling you away from that urge, which is actually trying to distract you. So whenever you are in a situation where you are in doubt or where you feel that you have no control over yourself, start chanting. Because chanting is easy. Why did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu give us the mantra, chanting the japa? Because we are living in Kali Yuga. Our memories are fading day by day. We have increase in Parkinson's and Alzheimer's in the world now. All these things were unheard of, even 100 years ago. Today, these are common things. Every family will at least have somebody in the chain of in the family chain, reporting Parkinson's or Alzheimer's. So therefore, these 16 words are so easy. You don't have to memorize too much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Trust me, try saying this for 15 days. See what the effect is, and stop for 15 days. Don't say anything and see what the effect is, and then decide for yourself. I'm giving you both the options. I'm telling you for 15 days, or you want to make it 1 month, make it 1 month. 1 month continuously chant, and for 1 month don't chant. And then the third month, take stock of your life. Simple. Try it out, because all of us are, fairly, we are older people. So we know what we want and we know how we can make our own assessment. So mantra means that which delivers you from unnecessary things is mantra. Okay. So this is a very simple mantra, just 16 words. Try it out and then see the results for yourself. The whole world has not gone crazy, chanting this Maha Mantra. There's definitely people have found something in it. So try it. We have tried so many things. We've moved away from very many kind of things to digital world, and then every day we are talking about a different capacity of software and hardware versions, and when we are constantly upgrading those things, can't we at least try this? Please try. And then that's all we can say. And there are scriptural references. It's not that that just like that Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who comes from the disciplic succession gave this to us just like that. They're all documented. There is scientific evidence. There's also one gentleman who I'll show you as a testimony, who has done a high level research. He's got a doctorate, a PhD on doing the effects of Maha Mantra on the mind and life. So there is in Narayana Samhita, it says, what does Narayana Samhita? It says, in the age of Kali, people should simply chant the holy names of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's what Narayana Samhita says. In Kali Santare Upanishad, it says, what does it say? So I'm sorry, I think the last one I missed that. Okay, the meaning is not there. Okay, now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, it is available in Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam, Kalau Nasti Va Nasti Va Nasti Vagatiranyata. What does it mean? In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. There's no other way, no other way. There's how beautifully Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said this. So here he says, my dear king, although the Kali Yuga is full of fault, there's still one good quality about this age. What is that? It is that simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one can become free from material bondage and be promoted to the transcendental kingdom. How easy. Please practice it. This is there in the Srimad Bhagavatam 12.3.51. You can check all this. All these are there. And in the Bhagavad Gita in 10.25, we are going to read. When we come to 10.25, it says, Yajnaha Japa Yagyo Asmi, of sacrifices. I am the chanting of the holy name. The Lord is going to talk about himself. 10 and 11. He says, the Maha Mantra, the Shabda O, everything is Lord personified. And then this is in Chaitanya Charitamrita Antalila. My Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, in your holy name there is all good fortune for the living entity. See, when you read the Bhagavad Gita, when you read Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord, you are actually interacting with Krishna. And when you're going to chant the Maha Mantra, you're actually, inducing, or you are developing your relationship with Krishna. My Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, in your holy name there is all good fortune for all the living entity. Therefore, you have many, many names such as Krishna and Govinda. You have invested all your potencies, all his energies in these names. The energy of the Lord. Why does chanting of the name make the difference? Because the energy of the Lord resides in those names. And there are no hard and fast rules for remembering them. What's the do's of the chant? Sorry. 1 minute. Yeah, what are the do's of chanting? We'll just quickly go through them. Chant the Panchatattvam. There's a Chaitanya Maha Mantra which is there, Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya. You can say that. But however, if you can't say that, at least as a beginner, chant the Maha Mantra, the 16 words, and then slowly as your ruchi grows, as I told you, it's all about first you need to have the faith. At least develop the faith for 1 month. And then you will develop a taste. Once you develop a taste, ensure that you're narrating the Panchatattva mantra before narrating Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. What is the Panchatattva mantra? Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Okay, that we are paying our obeisances to Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who has actually given us that path to kind of progress in our life. Now, when you chant audibly. Chant loudly. You should hear it. It shouldn't be just, we should hear it, because Shravanam and Smaranam are very, very important. Shravanam, hearing, is a very, very important aspect of advancing in spiritual life. Pronounce each name distinctly, not Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Okay. Then chant with respect and devotion and concentration, not while sleeping, not while doing something, some activity. Spend 5-10 minutes. I'm sure we have that. 24 hours is such a long time. The world goes from one end to the other in 24 hours. Can't we take some 10 minutes? And that which is going to help us only. Concentrate. Do it with respect, not while watching TV with a remote in your hand. And you can actually chant anytime, any place, walking, facing any direction. There's nothing like you have to do face north or south or east or west, nothing. Do it anytime. And you can also do it, before having a bath, after having a bath, whatever is convenient. But ensure that you're at least, in a clean place. Ensure cleanliness. You're wearing a clean outfit and you're sitting in a clean place. You can chant at any time. There's no time, specified. Brahma Muhurtam is very good, early morning. That is, the 3:54 a.m. in the morning. But however, there's no hard and fast rule. You can do it anytime. Once you develop the Shraddha, Ruchi, and you kind of start enjoying the process, I'm sure you will automatically do it at the Brahma Muhurtam as well. Okay, so there's nothing like having a bath, no bath. Maha Mantra is so easy, no restrictions at all. At least Gayatri Mantra and all, they say have a bath and then look to the sun and do it. Maha Mantra is so easy. But if you can, keep a japa mala and keep a count, because 108 is very auspicious in our Hindu, when I say in all our scriptures. So 108 is a nice number. They say there are several reasons that are given. The distance between the Earth planet and the sun is supposed to be 108 times the diameter of Earth or something like that. And then 108 is the number of I think the cows that Lord has in the Goloka Vrindavan. That's why 108 is very auspicious. And a lot of other things, also calculations of the cosmology, goes by the 108 times of things. That's why 108 is a very auspicious number for our faith. So don'ts of chatting us. One should chant all the 16 words. Don't drop portions of it. And then the top part of it, the bead that you have, that is supposed to be, the pivot. So don't chant on that. That's supposed to be Krishna. You kind of are chanting around it, not on that. Okay. Then don't do all this, as I said, reading a book, watching TV. The benefits of chanting, I'm sure once you start doing it, you are going to experience it just as very many millions of people have experienced it in their life. And then definitely it'll kind of keep you in control. It'll keep you in control. Definitely, all of us are conditioned souls. We are prone to make mistakes. We are prone to cheat others. Our senses are imperfect. And then we are also going to be getting carried away, swayed away all the time. Our senses, our mind is never in control. But the chanting of the mantra will definitely help us to keep ourselves in control. It's like a blocker. It kind of reminds you that it makes you think, at least even before you commit something, it makes you think, and that will help you to kind of keep yourself away from getting into that kind of an engagement or an activity. Okay. So unwanted desires will go away. Unwanted habits will not come by. It will give you freedom from anxiety and stress. You will have peace of mind. You will enjoy true happiness. It will be enlightening. It will also make you feel very light. So these are the various people who have enjoyed and who have kind of benefited from the Maha Mantra. So this is George Harrison. He was one of the persons in the Beatles group. He became Hare Krishna. And he truly enjoyed the process of getting into Hare Krishna, and chanting the Maha Mantra, he says, gave him a lot of peace. And this is a great, I think this person is he is the youngest director of 3M. All these you can Google. So what did he say? One second, let me read this out for you. Okay. So George Harrison said, it's really a process of realization of God. That's the effect that Maha Mantra has. Okay. And he said, this is a great, it's one of the big guy in the business world. He said, everything started happening to me when I began chanting the Hare Krishna. See, Westerners realize this. Shouldn't we, having born in this land, at least give it a try. Now, he is, I think, from the Fort family. He said, chanting Hare Krishna has made a tremendous impact in my life. He's married to a Bengali Indian, and he's Albert Brushford. He has done so much for the ISKCON movement in America. And the entire family, including his 3 children, are completely into the Hindu way of life. Then here he says, I've been chanting Hare Krishna for many years. I've never found anything more pleasurable. I think he's an industrialist. And all these you can look up in the Google. And this is, I think, Mafatlal. He says, chanting Hare Krishna. One second. Yeah. And then this is Desai, as I said. And this is, he says, chanting Hare Krishna has helped me face all the ups and downs of life with great confidence and peace of mind. That's guaranteed. Just give it a shot. And these are all models. A Dutch model. And you know the kind of lifestyle these models have to go through. And she found great peace, and she was on the she was someone on the cover page of Vogue and magazines like that. And she took to life that was all about Hare Krishna. And she said, and both of them said, these are 2 different models. They said both of them found happiness. And these are normal people. And look, all Western bodies, all these Western bodies, they got a lot of peace. I think we have no excuse in not giving it a try. Okay. And this is a great, I think he's a designer. He said, chanting makes me feel too close to God. In the morning, he's all dressed prim and proper for office. And in the evening, it seems he comes back, wears the kurta pajama, and then he has his japa mala in his hand. So Westerners have done it. Please, folks, you must do it. This is a man. He is a man who did this, who did this study. He got a PhD. Can you imagine? Mahamantra significantly reduces stress, depression, and the mode of ignorance, and considerably increases the mode of goodness. And that's where we want to be. We want to reduce our, tamaguna and rajaguna, and we want to get onto the sattva guna. And who is this man? He's a gentleman by name David Wolf. He did his research on the effects of chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and his book is available. It's available. You can buy it. It's on Google, and I think a digital copy is also available. You can Google and you can read it. Whenever you get time. So this is someone very ordinary like you and me. He says, when I'm stressed out, I chant. So when you're stressed out, you chant. When you're in confusion, please chant. When your mind is swaying, chant. It's one thing which charges my batteries. It clears my mind and brings me back to focus. Imagine, it removes the clutter from your mind. It helps you to focus better. So he's a normal person, printing executive. And this is another lady. She said, when I'm nervous, I find chanting very calming. It's not claiming, it's calming. I don't get shaken up at little things. It keeps you temperate. It keeps you balanced. He says, chanting Hare Krishna and reading authorized books of Krishna consciousness brought me great peace. So when they have experienced it, we have no excuse to not chant. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And I guarantee you happiness will come your way. Okay. Hare Krishna. So we are very, very, just 5 people today. Okay. Any questions?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Yes.
Mataji, I have seen like many people, they chant Hare Rama before Krishna. So is there any difference if we're chanting Hare Rama before Krishna or Hare Krishna then Hare Rama? Is there any difference?
There shouldn't be any difference. Okay. So for example, when you start with Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama. I mean, you're doing it. It's Rama and Krishna go up and down. So you take Hare Rama first, Hare Krishna first, whatever, it's okay. But then ensure that you're using all the 16 words. Okay. I know somebody had asked this question 3 years ago, and this is the explanation that Prabhuji gave.
I had one more question actually. One friend asked me, but I couldn't answer the question. He asked me, like, basically, like why it is called Hare Krishna Mahamantra, because we have lot of mantra which starts with Om, like Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. But Hare Krishna Mahamantra doesn't starts with Om. So why we call it Mahamantra?
Hare is Hari. Om is also Hari. Hare is Hari. You give your friend all these scriptures, all these references that I had given you in that thing, all the scriptural references from Sri Chaitanya. Sonal Mataji, you're there?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Mataji, I will share the PDF of this. Please share it with in the group, okay?
Yeah, sure, Mataji.
So, Babani Prabhuji, so you will have this. Please go to the scriptural references. These references have detailed out, what is the potency of Hare. Hare and Hari and Om are all the same. Okay. Any other question? Any other question? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, I had a confession. It's not a question. I just wanted to share. Like when you said.
Do you want me to go offline? You want me to? This is getting recorded. Should I take the record off?
Sure, Mataji.
1 minute. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah.